Senator Wiener, you're up. Okay, which one would you like to do, 239 or 421?
421, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, 421 it is. Item number 10. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and colleagues, for hearing this bill today. I do want to note today that I'm joined by Jackie Lacey, the District Attorney of the County of Los Angeles, who is the sponsor of the bill, one of the sponsors, as well as Nancy O'Malley, the District Attorney of Alameda County. I want to also thank the committee for its analysis and work on the bill, and we accept the clarifying amendments that the committee has proposed. I also want to note that we are continuing to work with law enforcement on making sure that the bill is as tight as it needs to be. This is a very lengthy and complicated bill, and we want to make sure that we get it right. Colleagues, SB 421 is long overdue reform of California's sex offender registry so that registry can be used to keep communities safe. I want to be really, really clear because I think it's hard to talk about the sex offender registry for reasons we all know. But this registry exists for one purpose only, as a tool for law enforcement to be able to monitor sex offenders and to keep communities safe. It exists for law enforcement as a tool, and law enforcement is telling us that this tool in its current form does not work. It is a failure, and it is not keeping communities safe. And so law enforcement is telling us that this reform will provide a much more useful tool for law enforcement to focus on high-risk offenders who are the people who are threatening our community. Right now in California, we treat all sex offenders the same regardless of their risk of reoffense. Whether you are a sexual predator or whether you are an 80-year-old gay man caught having sex in a park in 1958, you are the same. You are treated the same. You are on the registry for the rest of your life. The only other states that still use this draconian, outdated, ineffective, and unfair approach are Alabama, South Carolina, and Florida. In fact, federal law requires us to have a tiered approach to sex offender registries, and we are in violation of federal law by not having done so. This unfair system, this ineffective system, has led to California's registry being so grossly bloated, more than 100,000 Californians, 1 in every 400 Californians is on this registry, that law enforcement cannot effectively use it. When something terrible happens and law enforcement pulls the list of registered sex offenders in the area to look at suspects, the list is so large that they can't do anything with it, because this registry is not based on actual risk of reoffense. The size of the registry also leads law enforcement to spend a huge amount of resources on paperwork for people who do not pose a risk to anyone. As a result, a broad coalition of law enforcement agencies, including district attorneys, police chiefs, and sheriffs, support SB 421. In addition, CalCASA, our advocacy organization for victims of sexual assault, is a co-sponsor of this bill. In addition to undermining effective law enforcement, overbroad registration has significant negative impacts on individuals, their families, and their communities. People required to register for life face barriers to stable housing, leading to higher rates of homelessness, drug addiction, and mental illness, meaning they have an increased risk of recidivism because of the significant barriers that we create for them by keeping them on this registry for the rest of their life. Family members, and particularly children of these registered sex offenders, are impacted by the stigma of this registry. By creating a path off for people who are rehabilitated, SB 421 will make the system fairer and more just. Our current global lifetime registry is particularly negative in its impacts on LGBT people, largely gay men who were targeted by the police for simply engaging in same-sex sexual contact when that contact was criminalized. These gay men who couldn't have sex at home and who thus did so in public, whether in a park or in a car, were cited for indecent exposure or other charges, becoming lifetime registered sex offenders. In many cases, these arrests were due to anti-LGBT discrimination and police entrapment. It is unconscionable that these men, who are as old as 80 or 90 years old, remain on this registry. It is unconscionable. Other LGBT victims of this system include young men who have sex with other young men and find themselves registered as sex offenders for the rest of their lives. If an 18-year-old gay man has sex with a 17-year-old gay man, he will be a registered sex offender for the rest of his life. By contrast, if an 18-year-old man has sex with a 17-year-old woman, he will not be a registered sex offender. This law is discriminatory. This bill will remove these people from the registry along with others in similar circumstances and put a new system in place. That's why Equality California is a co-sponsor of the bill. SB 421 focuses on risk of reoffense, and this was based on years of analysis by the Sex Offender Management Board, led by District Attorney O'Malley, to determine levels of risk, and it creates 3 tiers. Tier 3 is a lifetime registration for the worst of offenders, the sociopaths, the repeat offenders. Tier 2 is a 20-year minimum registry, and you never automatically get off. You can petition after a period of time to get off, and the district attorney can oppose it if he or she deems it appropriate. Tier 2, after 20 years, this is for the serious offenses, but for people who have not reoffended in decades. And then Tier 1, after 10 years, you can petition to get off. This is for the misdemeanors. We are also indicating that we'll be taking some amendments after committee today. One of them has to do with Section 6290.5, Subdivision C, having to do with Tier 3 offenders being able to petition to get on to Tier 2. That issue was raised with us. We're going to be removing that from the bill entirely. There has also been some concern about violent child molesters. Violent child molesters are in Tier 3. That's always been the case in the bill. It's the case now, and that will remain the case. I want to, again, just stress the broad coalition behind this bill in terms of law enforcement, the California Police Chiefs Association, the California District Attorneys Association. In addition, various sheriffs, including the Sheriff of Los Angeles County, are behind this bill. We have a broad coalition because the time has come to reform our sex offender registry in California and to make it more effective in allowing law enforcement to keep our communities safe. Again, with me today, I'd like to turn it over to the district attorneys of Los Angeles and Alameda counties, Nancy O'Malley and Jackie Lacey, and I want to thank them for taking the time to be here today.
Good morning. I am Nancy O'Malley, Alameda County DA's office, and I also chair the California Sex Offender Management Board. I began my work in combating sexual assault in 1986 when I was a rape crisis volunteer, and I've been focused on that through all of my career, as well as in my advocacy. Your legislature created the California Sex Offender Management Board more than 10 years ago and tasked us with the specific purpose to look at ways in which California can keep our community safe and to manage sex offenders who are back in our community. And this bill and the work that we've done that gets us to this bill is exactly what the task we have undertaken. For 5 years, we have looked at the registration requirements, and we have gone line by line to make sure that we are ensuring public safety, that we are upholding the protection and the rights and the privilege and honor of victims, as well as making it appropriate for law enforcement to be able to do the job that they need to do, which is to protect our communities and those who live in our communities from those sex offenders who pose a risk of reoffending. In part of what your legislature has done over the last couple of years through our advocacy is that we have created and mandated now, you have, mandated that anyone who's convicted of a sexual assault crime is required by law to participate in a treatment program for a minimum of 1 year, but then it's up to the therapist, the sex offender treatment provider, to decide if that person needs to stay in treatment. The Sex Offender Management Board not only certifies the programs, but it also certifies every provider so that we know that they're doing the type of treatment that is effective in treating sex offenders. We also have created and adopted a very validated risk assessment tool. California has rated on both the statewide and the national as well as international level of having the highest rate of predictors for reoffending, and that is the static 99R, meaning it's been revised recently. Every person who's convicted of a sex offense crime is required to be assessed through the risk assessment tool. And that assessment continues throughout their time that they are either in custody or about to be released, as well as while they're going through, while they're living in the community and having to register. The law changed to require registration every single year so that we know that people are in compliance. We also know who's not in compliance. These are safeguards that we've built in addition to all the research that we have funded through the Sex Offender Management Board and our own education to know more about the psychology of sex offenders and the predictability of those who are at greatest risk for reoffending. As Senator Wiener said, that there are over 100,000 people on the registry, 74,000 of them live in our communities, and that it is simply not a safe situation right now when law enforcement is required to look at the 80-year-old man who, an 80-year-old man actually called me to say he was going to have to register for the 60th time in his life for exposing himself when he was 19, and could he just not register on his 80th birthday? And I said, sure, he'd registered every year. And then I got a letter, and then he got a letter saying that he was required by the Department of Justice to register and continue registering till he was dead. That person was not a risk to anyone. The high-risk sex offender is where the police need to focus their attention. And the last thing I'll say is that nobody gets off the registry without applying. And that means that law enforcement and the district attorneys have a job to do, and that is to pay attention to public safety in our communities. And where somebody is not complying with the law, we need to use the authority we have to get them into compliance, and also to oppose an application if that person has not participated or complied with the law. I would just say now that we feel this is a very strong public safety bill, and urge your aye vote.
Good morning. I'm District Attorney Jackie Lacy, and I just want to speak to you from the heart about why I think this registration bill is so important. District Attorney Nancy O'Malley and I could not feel stronger about people who commit crimes, sex crimes, being accountable and doing their time. But the registry, which was really created to be more of a law enforcement tool, has become like a scarlet letter. And what happens in court a lot of times is when we're plea bargaining these cases, people are willing to do more time on something else if they can avoid registry. And that's because registry has become something that is being misused. I think most of us would like registry to be something that law enforcement can use to keep track of predators who are in our society. That's really what I want my law enforcement agencies in LA County to do. But the way it's become is it's just a list right now because there are so many names on it. And some of these people are there for what I would call a one situation deal. So I want to publicly thank Senator Wiener for taking this on, because we've tried to do this so many times, and out of fear out of fear of being called weak on sex crimes or sex offenders, we've had people back out on us. And this is just an important, it's important because to see this kind of courage, because I think that's what people want. People want people who are smart, who look intelligently at the laws and fix them so that they do what they're designed to do. I have just a short list of facts, about this law that I just want to share with you and put on the record. First of all registrable offenses remain registrable. All registrable offenses will still be on the list. We'll eliminate loopholes and increase those who actually go onto the website. No one can get off of the registry without law enforcement and district attorney review, and the district attorney has a right to oppose the removal of a name from the registry. Tiers do not begin to run while people are in prison, but rather they begin to run when they're released back out in the community. So, for instance, if it's a 20-year registry, it's not until that person gets out that it begins to run. High-risk offenders, even misdemeanors, high-risk offenders are placed in lifetime registration, even misdemeanors. Incarceration for any crime. And that includes things like DUI, toll the registration requirement. So in other words, if someone is out, they have a period of time where they're crime-free, and they get picked up and incarcerated for any crime, that tolls the registration time and starts it again, all over again. Repeat violent offenders are in lifetime registration. And those are the facts of the registration bill that we all are putting forward. So we sincerely urge you all to vote to support this long overdue bill. It is a law enforcement bill. Look, if nothing else, just look at the list of people who are supporting it. CDAA, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and all these other folks who we know they are law enforcement and public safety people, are saying that this just needs to be corrected and fine-tuned so that we spend our resources. 66% of your law enforcement officers who are working this list are spending it on really nonviolent people who are on that list, and that's ridiculous. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Name and organization. I also, before they begin, I would like to announce that item number 12, SB 641 Laura, was pulled by the author. And you may begin.
Stanisha Boatner on behalf of the California State Association of Counties in support.
And Pam George from Santa Clara in support.
Leah Burnley on behalf of Californians for Safety and Justice in support.
Kathleen Garner, San Diego, strongly support.
Jay Rice, Novato, California, strongly support.
Sandra Henriquez, California Coalition Against Sexual Assault, co-sponsor, support.
Zachary Lowry from Winchester in support.
Professor Ira Elman, Berkeley, on behalf of the 8 scholars who submitted a letter to the committee in support.
Thank you.
Michael Madonia, Elk Grove, California, strongly support.
Alex Stewart from Citrus Heights, and I strongly support this bill.
Daniel Heron from Diamond Springs, support. Thanks.
Jeff Manley from Riverside County, in support.
Donna Mandel, representing San Francisco Public Defender Jeff Adachi, strongly supporting.
Jose Bernal on behalf of the San Francisco Reentry Council in support.
Karen Shanes, staff of the San Francisco Reentry Council and staff of San Francisco Adult Probation on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco, we support.
Robert Curtis, or Veterans for Justice and Hairdressers of California. Support, please.
Mark Judkins, Los Angeles, in support.
Janice Bellucci, Alliance for Constitutional Sex Offense Laws, in support.
Dave Howe, Alameda County resident, gay man, in support.
Karen Lang on behalf of Mayor Edwin Lee in the City and County of San Francisco, in support.
Gianna Satude on behalf of the Alameda County Board of Supervisors, in support.
Jennifer Orthwine is a forensic psychologist who's performed many evaluations on currently registered sex offenders. Strongly support.
Joe Michael for Equality California. We're a co-sponsor, in support.
Sabrina Saranello from Contra Costa County, in support.
Russell Atkinson, registered of 20 years, in support.
Gary C., City of Industry. I support this bill.
Mary Herron, El Dorado County. Strong support.
Charles Lopez of Elk Grove. I strongly support.
Jim Lindberg on behalf of the Friends Committee on Legislation of California, in support.
Joseph Johnson, all of us are none. Legal Service for Prisoners with Children, support.
Mark Walsh, San Francisco, civil, constitutional, and human rights advocate, in strong support.
Carol Urey, Returning Home Foundation, in support.
Joanne Doyle, Glendale. I hope you vote for this bill.
Dan Filizzato on behalf of the California District Attorneys Association and the Los Angeles Association of Deputy District Attorneys, in support.
I'm David Heron, a resident of El Dorado County. I urge your strong support for this important bill.
David Adler, San Jose, strong support.
Sherry, mother of a victim survivor, and I'm in strong support of this bill. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kim White. I'm from Huntington Beach, and I'm in strong support.
My name is Alan Salas from Downey. I'm a strong supporter.
Good afternoon. I'm Leslie from Los Angeles, and I'm a strong supporter of this bill.
Good afternoon. Gene Dial from Sacramento, two-time VFW, and I'm in support of this bill. Thank you.
Carol Wilson from Springville in Tulare County, and I support this bill.
Valina Dismukes from Los Angeles. I support this bill.
Tom Cox from Yorba Linda. I support this bill.
I'm Mark Verba from San Jose. I strongly support this bill.
LJ Anderson, Menlo Park. I support this bill.
Josh, Sacramento. I support this bill.
Robert Reed from San Bruno. I support this bill.
Hi, I'm Abby Breet. I live in San Francisco, and I support this bill. Thank you.
Elizabeth Moreno, Banning, California, and I support this measure.
Hi, Grayling Mitchell, San Bernardino. I support this bill.
Good afternoon. I'm James McBride from Laguna Beach, and I support this bill.
I am Karen McBride from Laguna Beach, and I support this bill.
I'm Sharon O'Hara, certified to treat sex offenders, and I support this bill. Thank you.
Tara Ellman, Berkeley. I support the bill.
Darren from Sacramento. I support this bill.
I'm Blas Lozano, South San Francisco. I support this bill. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike from San Jose, and along with my family, kids, and grandchildren, I support this bill. Thank you.
Terry Lofthouse, San Diego. I support this bill, SB 421. Thank you.
Good morning. Carl, I'm a retired public safety officer, and I support SB 421. Thank you.
So Linda, Orangevale, and I support this bill. Thank you.
Jerry, and I'm from Orangeville. I support SB 421.
Cheryl Davis, Sacramento, and I support this bill.
Jason Morrow, Sacramento, I support this bill.
Frank Lindsay, Grover Beach, California, and I support this bill.
Tress Wheeler, Lakeside, California. I support this bill.
Martin Weiss, North Hollywood, strongly support this bill.
Chance Oberstein, Orange County, I support this bill.
Joe Simonson, Santa Barbara, I support this bill.
Bruce Hamlin from Orange County, I support this bill.
Ace Chen from Norwalk, California, I absolutely support 421.
Good afternoon, members. I'm Gloria Carroll from 67th Assembly District. I support this bill.
I'm Stephen Carroll from District 67, and I support this tax-saving bill.
My name is Amal Kumar from Stanislaus County, and I support this bill.
I'm Stacy Kumar. I'm from Stanislaus County, and I support this bill.
My name is Martha Gale. I'm from Los Angeles, and I support this bill.
My name is Aurora Hill from Los Angeles, California, and I support this bill.
My name is Julio Gil. Vengo de Los Angeles. I support 421.
My name is Sayuri Hanna. I'm from Los Angeles. I support this bill.
Robert Hanna from Los Angeles. My support for this bill.
Alexander Gittinger, clinical forensic social worker in Los Angeles, working with sex offenders, and I strongly support this bill.
Hello, my name is Arax Kraling. I'm from Woodland Hills, California, and I support this bill.
Julio Hernandez, Los Angeles County, in support of this bill.
Richard Nicholas from Sacramento, and I support this bill.
Do it again. Marty Veronica on behalf of the California DA's Association in support. Thank you.
Brandon Epp on behalf of Los Angeles County Sheriff Jim McDonnell in support.
Edward DeMond, Orange County, California. I support this bill.
Andrew Medina of Asian Americans Advancing Justice California in strong support.
Matty Hyatt from the California Civil Liberties Advocacy in strong support.
I'm Bruce Waldhauser, and I support this bill.
Mr. Chair and members, Matthew Cyberling on behalf of the Los Angeles Police Protective League. I just want to take one moment to thank the author for his past and ongoing discussions with us to make this the best public safety bill possible. Thank you.
Nicole Arnaiz on behalf of the California Attorneys for Criminal Justice in support.
Hi, I'm Eliza Hirsch. I'm an attorney from Alameda County, and I want to thank the Senator and my district attorney in support of this bill. Thank you.
Cody Boyles on behalf of the Chief Probation Officers of California in support.
Roger Honeycutt, businessman from Modesto. I support this bill.
Natasha Minsker, ACLU of California in support.
Thank you. Are there any witnesses in opposition?
Yes, sir.
Oh, here you go.
Yes.
Let the witness testify, and then you can come and say your name and organization.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Erin Runyon. I am the founding director of the Joyful Child Foundation in memory of my daughter, Samantha Runyon. I am also a founding member of the Surviving Parents Coalition and the Protect Caucus, a branch of the National Association to Protect Children. My daughter was abducted and assaulted 11 days before her 6th birthday by a man who had previously molested 4 little girls. He would be a Tier 2 in today's system in California registry. And I think it's really, really important that people understand that when we're talking about modifying the current California sex offender registry, which I will concede is necessary, and there may be misdemeanor crimes that do not warrant lifetime registry. I understand that. But Tier 2 offenses in California, unlike the national standard, are serious and violent offenses. And not only will there be 11,000 offenders who are immediately removed, not just from the public registry, but from law enforcement's private registry as soon as this bill passes. They will have no way to track them. Prior offenses will not matter. The public will have no idea who they are if they're hiring them to babysit their children or hiring them to work at their daycare or their school. Beyond that, at that same moment, based on their time of conviction, over 44,000 additional offenders will immediately be eligible to be removed from the registry. Within 5 years, 90% of our current California registered sex offenders will be removed from the registry. The burden on the Department of Justice and our local law enforcement agencies is uncalculable. The DOJ released that it is estimated to cost them alone $86 million just in the first 5 years to update the websites and to process all of these appeals. Each agency locally is going to have to process all of those applications. We don't even know the cost of those. And 2/3 of our current registered sex offenders have no risk assessment. So on what basis are these appeals being heard? And what is the cost of then having all of those folks assessed? We have not done our job up until this point. It has only been 7 years since Chelsea's Law passed, overwhelmingly by your constituents. So I know that when I say I am opposed, it is not just me, it is the vast majority of the public. This is not a public safety bill. Please reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, your name?
Michael McDermott, you have my written opposition because of Enrique Pierce and Larry Brinken's treatment by the system of these powerful insiders. I am deeply opposed to this boutique bill designed to let those with the most dirt and blackmail ability off and out without even determinations of moral turpitude. It's a disgrace. And we are not even tracking their victims. I was told when Brinken was sentenced, they would not follow the victims of Brinken because it was too embarrassing to the system to look for these toddlers who'd been raped, abused, and sodomized. That's
Thank
a disgrace.
You, sir. Any other witnesses in opposition? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for this moment. I think I represent one of 10 private citizens or individuals, but I know that's more like thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. I'm 2 years on Labor Day will maybe be the time when we get a day in court for my daughter's rape 5 times by her supervisor at work. If he's let go 20 years from now from this registry, my daughter, she won't have recovered from this in 20 years. She should know where he is all the time so that she can rest. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any witnesses? Are there any questions or comments from committee members?
Yeah, excuse me. You know, sex offender laws are highly volatile and deeply emotional. We need a system that clearly makes a distinction between mild offenders and serious offenders, and that we agree. However, this bill is rife with a number of concerns for me. For example, we could have a single violent child sex offender qualified to be a Tier 2. And you could shake your head no, but the answer is yes. And we need to work on this, and we need to work on a bill that makes the distinction. And I could go on with about 4 or 5 concerns I have with this particular bill. So in concept, I would agree that we need to address this issue, but this has too many concerns for me to support this time.
Thank you.
Mr. Wiener, I know we had a discussion, several discussions, in fact, and I'm concerned with the questions that were raised. Is there anything else that we can do to try and alleviate some of those concerns?
Well, sorry, it's a little loud out there. Assemblymember, I think it's really important to recognize where this bill came from. This bill, as we know, there's sometimes when we as a legislator, you sit down and you think of a bill and you put it on paper. That's not this bill. I didn't, in terms of the tiering, I didn't sit down as a legislator and say, I think this should be here, this should be there. This, I know I've said it before, and I want to say that this came from law enforcement. This is law enforcement's proposal. Law enforcement is the dominant force behind this bill. And I think it's really important. We can all agree or disagree about the tiering, and I totally respect everyone's point of view. But law enforcement, who are often in here, I don't always agree with law enforcement. And it's law enforcement that is charged with administering this to keep us safe, and they are saying that this is the way to go. With that said, from the very beginning of this bill, we have taken feedback, and the LA District Attorney's Office in particular, and Nancy O'Malley have met with people to try to take feedback, and we've shown a willingness to make changes to the bill. And as I said at the beginning, we're going to continue to do that. As you saw, the Los Angeles Police Protective League called us and said that they had a specific concern about a specific crime, and we're working with them on an amendment that will address that concern. So yes, absolutely, we will continue to do that between now and appropriations. We have another month and a half, or almost 2 months, and we'll continue to do that work. We've already committed to a few amendments, and we're willing to continue to have the discussions. I also just want to be really clear, because this is also the second policy committee hearing we've had. I cannot even describe how hard it is to sit at the table with a parent of a child who's gone through that. I just want to let you know from the bottom of my heart, I am so sorry about what happened to you and to your daughter and to your family. No one should ever have to go through that, and I am so deeply sorry for what happened. And our goal here is not to try to let anyone off the hook. It is to try to improve safety so that the next child who is abducted, that law enforcement has a registry that they can use to quickly identify high-risk possible suspects and get someone off the street. That's what we're trying to do here. But that's a very long way of saying, yes, of course, we're going to continue to work to do any fine-tuning, and we welcome your feedback, others' feedback, to try to make this as good a bill as it can be.
Thank you, Mr. Wiener. And I share that. I was a teacher for 16 years, and I share that same sentiment. I am very sorry for what happened to you. My concern is that if we don't do this, we have a registry that's not usable for law enforcement. So we have a choice between not using it at all, or at least updating it to make some of those concerns and really help law enforcement. Again, when I sat down with Mr. Wiener, or Senator Wiener, that was one of the questions that I had for him, and he said that right now, and Ms. Lacey, if you can, interject on that matter, we can't use the site right now because it's too cumbersome. It has too many names on it.
I appreciate that it needs modifications.
Right.
One of my additional concerns is that the way that the bill is written currently, once these people are off both registries, current law states that registered sex offenders cannot apply for jobs to work with children. So it is very unclear that what happens after that fact.
The only thing I can speak on is education. I was a teacher for 16 years and also a school board member. And even if they're not in a registry, in order to work with children, you have to provide fingerprints and live scan and all of those, I guess, necessary background checks. And for those, I can speak that probably will not happen because of the fingerprints, and then they can trace back.
But if I'm a mom hiring a tutor,
Right.
they are perfectly within their rights to do that.
I agree, but like I said, I can only speak for the education part, and I spoke in length with Senator Wiener about this, and I'm a mom, and I have a former teacher, and again, my concerns were the same, but if we don't have anything that the law enforcement can use, then it's not usable. So I agree with you.
We just have to give them the resources to do it.
Right, and that's,
all right.
And here we are. That's why we're here. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Was that also a motion for Mr. Rubio? And it's the second here. Is there any other comment? You may close, Mr. Wiener.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and colleagues. Thank you. Again, I know this is a really intense subject for everyone involved, and it's a hard bill, but I think it is an important step. Like I said, we'll continue to work on it. Ms. Rennie, we would definitely, I would love for the LA District Attorney's Office to perhaps sit down with you and talk through some issues, and that would be terrific. So, colleagues, I ask for an aye vote.
Okay. And again, I empathize with you and your family. There's only two people in this room that know what it's like to carry this bill. I'm the first one, and I died on the floor of the Assembly, and it was not pretty. I'm glad we have law enforcement here in force this time to really talk about why they need these tools to make the system better. I absolutely believe they will make sure that your concerns are not only taken into consideration, but I think they want to continue the dialogue with you as it moves to its next stage. And I want you to continue to dialogue with us because we want to get as close as we can to giving you some comfort because I think that is the most important thing. And the DAs, I can speak for both of them and tell you that what you said today really touched them, and they will do whatever they can to ensure there's public safety for everyone. And so with that, the chair is recommending an aye vote.
On SB 421, the motion is due pass as amended to the Appropriations Committee. Jones Sawyer?
Aye.
Jones Sawyer, aye. Lackey? No. Lackey, no. Flora? Flora not voting. Gonzalez-Fletcher? Quirk? Rubio? Aye. Rubio, aye. Santiago?
That measures on call. It needs to.
Thank you very much.
And we're now going to recess to 12:45.
Thank you.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes, Ms. Lisa.
I just
You can pound the gavel. You got to pound the gavel.
Tried to contact you.
Oh, really?
And he hasn't gotten a response. So